Hi, this is Dan Campbell. I'm known as Dot-Tone Dan on the internet, and I have a company called Dot-Tone Designs. I do color separations predominantly. I do some artwork also, but for the most part, I'm in color separations. Um, I'm also part owner of the shirt board, and we have a good forum there with a lot of seasoned shop owners, and I highly recommend that you stop over and visit us, register, and say hello. Um, this video is for your basic film printing, um, spot colors, and more geared toward the beginners. So let me show you where I'm at. I'm working in Adobe Illustrator CS5, and at work I'm using the Creative Cloud and whatever the version that might be. But the things are a little bit different in there. When I look at my environment and I'm setting up artwork, this is my basic setup. I got my tools over here to the left. I got this window here. That's my attributes, my separation preview, and my size info. And to the right, at the very top, I keep my color swatches, strokes, and my gradients together, the layers, and then you can see my Pathfinder tool, transparency, characters, and alignment. These are all essential elements that I use to work with every day. The color options here, where I tint a color back to a certain percentage, um, and then my Pantone color list. The Pantone colors work hand in hand with the swatches. Each one of these that you want to print out is going to be a spot color. You'll see that by this little icon. You see the 4-color process up here to the right. That is signifying it's only going to print out in CMYK. That's a CMYK black. The process white, don't be fooled by this little icon. Process white does not print. There is no process white. We call that computer white. Um, no printers, digital printers, are going to print out a white ink unless it's been converted to like direct to garment printing or something, where they will use a white ink, and even then it's a spot color. Um, so let me show you some artwork, and I'm going to show you 3 different ways of outputting film or preparing the file to be separated. So you got your color file, and then I'm going to print a 14 by 8.5 by 11.5 film setup. Let me first note that it's important to put in the job information on each separation. You'll know, and your printers will know, what color each one of those are. In that, I suggest you put in the date that you printed the film and the job number. That could be a PO number or an art file number, and then a job description and the number of colors that's supposed to be with that file. So if they only find 2 films, they know it says 3, so you're missing one. That's good information to have on every job. And also the registration marks. You'll see some differences in here, how these are set up. The registration marks. Let me point out that I see a lot of registration marks that are done with thick line work, and that's kind of defeating the purpose, because if you're printing thick, fat registration marks, you may as well be registering along with the artwork, because the registration marks need to be thin so that you can pinpoint exactly where your films need to line up. So if you got fat registration marks, that's not helping you any. So a good thickness that's going to be held on any screen should be about 1 point. That could be 0.75 or even half a point for higher mesh, but it's good to keep it at 1 point across the board. You'll see in my layers I have this stacked. I have multiple layers in here. I have this one hid for a reason right now, but I'll get to that in a moment. But you can see that I have each color set up on a different layer. There's a purpose for that. You can create all of your multiple art all on one layer. Many people do. And then they separate it out in other methods, and I'll show you that later too. But for this case, it's easiest for me to, especially for the basic artwork, this big solid spot color pieces of art, is I'll set it up all on one page and stack them over top of each other and send it to the film printer all at one time. It's convenient, and to me it's efficient, and keeps the art file intact. I don't have to break things apart. And so as long as you know how to do that, it works out well. It's a little trickier than the other methods. The other methods, you don't have to use your brain as much, and you're breaking them apart manually, and you can physically see your separations, but they are pushed apart and they're not aligned, and there are 3 different elements. You have to do more steps that way. Here you have one piece of file and you send it one time. The color above that is my green, and then my gold, and if you look at each color individually, you'll see how they stack up. You'll also notice that when I combine this on their base, you'll see something going on. There's kind of a color shift, and in this base, that's where I got my registration marks and my color information too. So if we go to separation preview, this is under the Windows feature, and down in the list you'll see separation preview. So many people forget or don't know about this. It's a beautiful thing. Very good for you. So check that, and you'll notice that you get a checkbox here. You can see the color differences when I turn it on. This is just a preview. It's not going to be anything with pertaining to how your file set up. You'll also see that I could have in the list, if I created another spot color here, and I'm not even using it in the art, but let's say if I made one and I called it red and I put it there, boom, it pops up in the list down here, but I'm not using it in the art. So separation preview is going to show you every color that you have in your art file. That's why it's efficient for you to only keep the colors in there that you're actually using. So you go to select all unused, delete. Yes. So you also see that this says CMYK above here, and so you're printing spot colors, and the first thing you want to do is uncheck that because you don't have any CMYK art. So you only have the colors that you're printing with. And if you blow up on this art file, you'll see a slightly darker outline. And what this is showing you is my registration, my stroke line that I've added on to the gold so that it runs underneath of the green. And you'll see this is lighter. Here I'm stroking the green, or actually the white underbase, with a 1-point stroke, cutting back on that underbase so that it's tucked up underneath of the green. So the yellow is coming in under the green, and the white is coming back underneath the green as well. And so when I just view the yellow, this is how this separation is going to print. So it shows the information and the colors and the registration marks and the art on that yellow separation. So if I go to the green and uncheck the yellow, I can see exactly how my green is going to print out. This is telling me this is going to print out properly. So there are two different things that I'm going to do for this color separation file. Is I'm going to send this to print with both of these eyeballs on for the yellow and the green. And I'm going to take my information and drag it up above so that when I turn this off, that information still shows. I may be talking a little funny because I hear an echo in my headphones and I can't get rid of it. So I hear myself talking. So I'm going to send these to print, and I'll hit print now, for example. And I'm in Adobe Illustrator, of course, in the separation setup. And there's not much in here I need to mess with other than making sure that I have the right printer assigned and the page setup is correct. And next I'll go to output, and now you see that there are no CMY K-seps, and you see all three separations in my file. Well, I am not printing the base at the moment, so I'll turn that off. And now I can just hit print. If the artwork was to have halftone in it or gradients, then I can choose the line screen here. You know, a maximum might be 65 line screen in very fine, high detailed artwork. In lower mesh, you want to use something that works better with that lower mesh. You take your mesh and divide by 5 or 4.5 or even 4, and that'll give you an idea of what line screen would be good to use. On the lower mesh, I might divide by 4, and that'll give me a higher number. On higher mesh, I like to divide by 5, and the reason for that is it decreases my chance of getting mesh interference with the smallest dots. Like if I had artwork that had 5 or 10% dots in there and I want to make sure I capture those, then I don't want to use 4 as a multiplier because it is going to give me a higher line screen. than what I would really need. And if I use that, then I might not capture the small dots below 5%. And so this tells me that I would want to use a lower mesh. You'll see that in the math as you figure it out. But this is where you would change it. Change it to, let's say, 45 line screen. And the screen angle, a common screen angle used in screen printing and apparel printing, is 22.5. You could use other line screens, doesn't matter, but and this is defaulting back, but I don't know why it's coming back, but that's something I'll figure out later. And then I know why, because technically I'm not set up to print a film here with the printer that I have. But here's what you would change to your dot shape, which a lot of people in the apparel industry use elliptical dot for film printing. For digital direct to screen, it's common to use the round dot, and they'll explain that to you why. But it's basically because the head travel of the printer as it's printing, it's rather rapid and helps to create a elliptical dot shape anyways out of your round dot. So it's best to just stay with round, otherwise it would be too elliptical in shape. So getting back to the output, you would just hit print. Instead of done, this would say the print button. And this is one method, just setting up the file in color and all on one page. The other methods, if you look over here, there they are. Here you can copy this, select it all, and drag it up somewhere, and then you would manually change each color to its own black and white color separation, like I've done here, and then change the name so you can see each color. And so this is very manual, and then you'd have to like select this area here, ungroup it, select just this section, and then drag it onto your page, and then hide your other colors and hit print. I think I hid my document. Show artboards. So yeah, you would just grab this color and then drag it over here and lock that, and hide the others, hit print. Make sure it's on a page though. And it really wouldn't matter if you set it down here or if it's up here, because you got these registration marks and you're just printing on film, and they'll line it up there as they get out into the screen room. That's one method. The other is you can do the same thing stacked on top of each other. If you look here and let me hide my color layers, Then I moved all that together. Now I'll hide the color layers. And here in this case, you have the colors in individual layers. So you just turn off the eyeballs of the other colors that you don't want to print. Leave the one on and make sure everything's named correctly, and then hit print. So you got one color. Here in this case, it's all processed black, and that's fine because it's solid. It's not going to print in percentages of the other colors. It's all on the black, and then you hit print. So that's one, and then you do the next one, and then the next one. But like I said, those are manual steps, and it's kind of a little bit more time consuming than just printing the whole color all at one time. The thing about printing the colors all at one time, though, is let me show you this. Let's look at the separation preview. And notice that I moved this color information up above in the top so that when you see these separations, those are on there on each separation. The thing is, I'm using registration black. That's another thing that you want to make note of, is this is good to have for any information that you want to appear on each different separation. Registration marks, the job information, anything that you want to appear. But you don't have to apply it on each color. If you did, if you colored these in, you could, for example, let me pull one up here, change the color. And so if I look at the green, it's not showing up over there. So I'd also have to copy it onto the green separation and then the base white separation also. And then I'd have to go to my attributes, and I would have to tell those to overprint. For example, that's colored gold, so it's only on the stroke. So I tell the stroke to overprint, where this echo is getting to me. So let's look at that. So I tell that to overprint, and then I copy it, paste it back, and it's not showing because I don't have the yellow selected. There you see it. Again, this is not affecting the artwork when I have this turned off. It's just a preview. So it's showing you what color is going to actually print. And so now I'm previewing the yellow with the green, but I don't have a green underneath here yet. So now I'm going to select the top one, lock it, which is Command 1 or Control 1 on a PC. And now I'm going to change the color. Now you see that it's green, but it darkened a little bit because I have the overprint preview checked. So it has to show me something different. So what it's doing is it's kind of multiplying those colors, giving me a darker combined preview of the yellow and the green together. And if I move that off a little bit, you can see the difference. And then I would copy that, paste back behind it, and stroke it with the base white. it darkened up even a little bit more. And if I just do view the base white, I get the registration marks. So you can do that, or you can just use registration color. And that is that. If I come across any other important things to show about color separation, I'm going to try and make some videos that are going to be more intricate, get more involved in simulated process color separations, but that's more about Photoshop. Here we're using just basic separations out of Illustrator. The overprint features and the attributes, they get much more complex as your art gets more complex. If you got a lot of distressed textures in there and fades going on and radial blends and transparencies, it gets more complicated. And that's another level. Maybe I'll do a tutorial on that as you get more advanced, but for now this should get you going. Thank you, and stop by the shirt board. Bye bye.